Hey everybody, and welcome to the final Sisters of Battle faction reveal here on May 22nd. The whole faction is dropping on May 23rd. I am incredibly excited to be here with you. So thank you if you're new for stopping by, and if you've continued to support the channel, thank you as always. So we're going to get into some reveals today. We'll talk a little bit about some lore just because I really couldn't help myself. But let's just dive in. All right, folks, we're starting here with some pretty sick art on the Mortifier. From what I understand, anyone who's caught in a Mortifier is having a pretty bad time. Those who have run from, battle and committed quite a big sin get strapped into these bad boys. Can't even hear the prayers of their sisters, unfortunately. But basically just try to tear it up in their final, last breath on the front line, which I guess you need when you're trying to spread the good word about the Imperium. So what do we got here? We got 7 energy, 9 health, so pretty whopping health, 6 attack, 6 ranged, penitence for those of you who may have missed it. Whenever this unit takes a damage takes damage from something, and I believe it has to live, it does some sort of effect, which here is deal 2 damage to the enemy warlord. Well, I think although the Mortifier looks very terrifying from the art, not too much to write home about. It is probably a decent curve topper for a brand new Adeptus Sororitas deck. It is pretty hefty, but it doesn't have any defensive stat lines or keywords like Vanguard or Armor. It's very possible that this hits the board and then gets removed by some sort of removal without having too much of an impact. But I will say, if it does live, it's going to punch something, for 6, which is going to hurt a lot, and then you're going to get that sort of guaranteed 2 damage on the enemy warlord. So starting off with a common here that I think is probably fine starting out in your Sisters of Battle deck, but nothing too exciting quite yet. So let's keep it moving. All right, next we've got the Penitent Engine, and as you can see from this man on the front of this thing, he's not really having a great time. And that is because he was deemed a heretic by the Sisters of Battle, and therefore needs to feel pain, agony, and guilt. And really, the only salvation, and this is definitely a clear theme here, will be fighting on the front lines with these giant buzzsaws and flamethrowers, and then dying for the Imperium. So, what do we got here? 6 energy, 7 health, 4 melee attack, 5 range, so, pretty even stats. Penitence, gain flank, and blast 2. Now, I'm a little bit more excited about this card. First off, decent stat line all around, and then a penitence that makes this card relevant potentially the turn that it comes in. And I say potentially because if you haven't caught it in some of the other great reveal videos, so definitely check out the schedule if you haven't. And everything will be up by the time I'm here. The fact that this could gain flank the turn it's played by something else that triggers penitence on all the other units in there. I think there are at least 1 or 2 enablers that do that. Could be excellent, right? Coming in, blasting something for 5 ranged attack, and then blasting out 2 damage spread across a couple bodies, potentially even the warlord, could be a very nice tempo play. Now, again, you want to be able to enable this on turn 6 fairly reliably for this to be, kind of hit its ceiling, if you will. The floor of the card is just kind of a big stat stick that maybe gets some value the following turn. But you'll probably just play this off curve anyway, and just probably only play this on 7 or 8 or 9 energy when you can reliably trigger its penitence. But I will say the Penitent Engine gives me a little bit more, of a competitive spirit, I would say, than the Mortifier. But let's just keep on trucking. All right, and for our last comment, and then we'll get into some of the juicier stuff, we have the Sister Repentia. Unfortunately, this sister did not live up to the standard of the Sisters of Battle, and therefore has a lot of fun gadgets to feel much more pain and try and have a glorious death for the Imperium. So yeah, just laying on the Catholic guilt pretty thick here with the Sisters of Battle, which definitely seems very on brand. 3 energy, 4 health, okay. 3 melee attack, fine. 0 ranged attack, and then its penitence is gain +2 melee. So the dream with this card, or the ceiling again, is going to be having this thing get to punch for 5 melee. I just don't know how likely that will be. And the floor of this card is you basically spend 3 energy for them to use their warlord plus 1 other thing, probably for free, right, to hit its ranged attack stat, which is 0. And then this thing's dead. I actually would have liked to maybe have seen like 1 ranged attack on this card. It does, I believe, have some sort of bolter, or no, maybe that's a sword in her hand. But it just would have been nice that this thing doesn't get completely wiped out for free. But I guess you can't ask too much of a common. And this sister, I guess, just really isn't putting the work, in the bolter training room, I guess, if that's a thing. All right, let's check out the rest. Well, and as some folks already guessed it, we've got Morvenval here for the legendary Warlord for the Sisters of Battle, coming in at a hefty 40 health, 2 melee attack, 2 ranged attack, a pray ability, so you got to make sure she's not interrupted. She did have to pray 3 days before she decided to be the abbess, so sometimes you got to pray on it. And her prayer is going to deal 1 damage. I guess you get to choose where that damage goes, which is pretty nice if you're able to protect her. Right, because she has to take no damage the turn that she starts prayer and no damage the following turn while she is praying. So definitely a hefty one, and I think her ability is going to remind us of another 40 health Warlord, but with a little bit of a twist. And here we have our final card, the Warlord ability for Morvenval, Righteous Repugnance. Sick art as well. Ephemeral. Give +1 melee and +1 range to your units this turn. Now, this may remind you of Gaskull Thraka with his ability in previous patches to buff his troops with +1 melee, +1 range. But this actually says units, so this is going to include your Warlord. And as you might remember, only seconds ago, Morvenval has 40 health. So you're able to pump her to a 3/3 with 40 health each turn. That's sort of the floor of this card. So that she can basically trade her health to keep you, I guess, as ahead on the board as you possibly can be. And then, of course, later in the game and as you establish a board, then you're allowing your units to swing and trade up. And that's pretty good, especially if you can establish a Vanguard unit here or there, and you've got some folks praying in the back, as you were. And then have those other units, kind of trade up and protect their sisters. So Righteous Repugnance, I think, is a nice little twist on a theme we've already seen, including the Warlord herself. And with Morvenval bringing her armor to every meeting, which I read about, she's prepared. She's really prepared for battle. So Righteous Repugnance, fits right into that theme. And we have not seen a Warlord that buffs both of its attack stats up to 3 yet. Right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm fairly almost 100% on that. So that is really interesting to me. I think that, anything that kind of breaks parity of like what we're kind of used to in the game is probably something worth looking at. So I think she's going to be potentially great at controlling the board. I think sort of in the vein of what Shadow Sun is trying to do for the Tau, but maybe even a little bit better. And just love the art, love the whole concept for these cards. Let me know in the comments what you guys are excited for Sisters of Battle. Since this is the final reveal video, you've got as much information as I do, and I just can't wait to see what else is in store on release tomorrow, May 23rd. Thanks so much for being with me, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next video.